All right, so I believe we're re-recording again. Can I get a confirmation that you can see this particular slide for Fey, the renovations now?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so I think there must be a delay in the system. So if that's the case, no worries, we'll come back and I'll give it a few seconds in between. So this is the Fey Hall renovation. So this space that we see on the left is an example of the community spaces that will be carved out all through the basement level of Fey. You will also note these slides or these two images here on the right also provide different spaces for students to work in small groups, as well as in larger community areas. There will be a number of screens that are flat screen monitors located. So because we are completely wireless, our students will be able to project and work in whatever platform they choose and share those images through these particular flat screens, which I think will be great. The students are also excited about this. So we are leaning heavily on mobile devices, clearly between laptops, phones, tablets, etc. So our students will be able to not only work seamlessly inside the classroom, they'll have the opportunity to work in what we're referring to as these huddles or community spaces. One of the areas that is related to this is the television studio. So you might have heard that the TV studio is also undergoing a number of changes, primarily technological upgrades. We've recently secured funds to where we've been able to upgrade to 4K, which is amazing. The high definition component is wonderful. Our students will be trained and educated with the most cutting edge technology on the market. And so this will prepare them for going into a variety of different production scenarios. We use standard professional technology. So for example, Adobe, as I mentioned earlier, all students are trained on that. The standard in the field for sound production engineering is Pro Tools. Our students are also trained on that as well. And they're given opportunities to have these creative spaces in which they create, which makes complete sense for a College of Communication and the Arts. Another image I would like to share with you is what will become our new theater. Can everyone see this image? May I get a confirmation?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So this is a big change for us as well, because we are moving away from what was the theater in the round that some of you might have participated in for one of the open houses or one of the pirate previews or some aspect of a campus visit. But the new theater is actually a huge opportunity for our students to have cutting edge technology and a space that allows us to be fluid in how we use it, not only from productions and set building, but also we will now be ADA compliant, which is very important for students that we have on campus that have particular needs that want to participate in a variety of different offerings that we have as a college. This area also allows us a chance to use this space for learning environments as well. So students will have the chance to be able to take a course in here. Outside of this area is a beautiful space that is also an event space, and it's also a gallery space. So our students that are a part of art exhibits or our students that are a part of the Museum Professions program will actually have a space that they can design exhibits, have their work shown in a gallery, and that becomes a different type of learning situation and opportunity for them. We also imagine this space would be something that our music folk may operate in. We're working through details now regarding decor, finishing, lighting. We're so excited about this space, we can't stand it. So we're hoping that you're excited about it too. In addition to the upgrades in the University Center, which you've probably heard quite a bit about, while our theater resides there, we're also reaching outside of our classroom spaces and building in arts and comm studios. So what you see here is an image of the interior of what will be the new University Center. While we have the theater as a part of the University Center, because we recognize students want to collaborate and they want to experience these types of engagements together, we've also built in a few studios that you see here. So these areas will actually be connected to the radio station, and they will also be linked to our studio. The idea is that we will be working with students so that they are best trained and educated over how to be fluid and move between a normal studio setting into a field setting, which is invaluable for a person that is going through production training of any type today. So these areas are something we're excited about. We're really looking forward to bridging them to the curriculum and bridging them even more so to our studio and WSOU. Anybody have a question about spaces? I could go on about this forever. Our students are excited about it as well. That doesn't count the stuff we're also doing in the library in terms of next level upgrades and things like that. But CommArts is going to have a footprint in a variety of buildings and in a variety of spaces to help support our students. Questions or comments about space?
Not a question, well, a question, Dr. Robinson, this is Sandro. In regards to the TV studio that's current, how many students actually use the studio in regards to the whole population of students that are matriculated at the College of Communication and the Arts?
Well, that depends, because we have private TV or pirate TV, which is one aspect of what students work on. And that number of students can vary depending on the courses and the kinds of content being created. Most of the time, those students get a lot of hands-on, I would say hands-on instruction as well as one-on-one attention. Most of the time, there's 14 students in there at any given time, because that's also, wait for it, in alignment with the kinds of positions that you have in a studio setting. So there's that part of students who participate. Now, we also have a whole host of students who participate, for example, in other kinds of production work. So we offer a digital cinema, for example, and students are engaged in filmmaking, which means that they would be working in an editing bay area that's also affiliated with the studio. So cuts across majors. We also are looking at advancing the use of the studio in different ways to be more or provide more original, I think, programming where we can start to generate content and showcase our students' work more. I suspect these areas you see in this image, which is a station of 4, will likely be partnering with students that are majors or non-majors that could be working across, frankly, disciplines and majors, as they should. So I think, I wish I had a hard number for you in terms of, you know, how many students are in there regularly, but the studio is always hopping from morning through the afternoon on. Right now, we do have the studio offline because we're undergoing renovations. So we anticipate our students to be back in the studio and working through that prior to school starting in the fall semester.
Thank you. And I know there was a raised hand. Bernard, you would like to unmute yourself if you had a question?
Yes, hi. I put the question in the chat box also. I was just curious as to when the renovations are slated for completion.
Sure. I believe renovations are slated for completion August. We are in the process right now of moving faculty offices and figuring out the flow of that. But the actual renovation will be starting this summer. So the end of May, we will be full swing. And that should conclude, it should be finished. We built in a little buffer, but we should be finished early August. So we are on path to completion. It's an exciting project. We are very, very engaged with the project, but it's also changing how we'll teach, which we are having really good conversations about as a faculty.
All right, thank you.
Sure, thank you. Anyone else? So another question that we had populate came up about excuse me, internships. I love allergy season. Let me tell you, it's a blast for someone like myself. Excuse me. The internships question I had was, how do we deal with internships? You know, how many internships? How do you go about it? Is there support for internships? what kinds of internships have students conducted or been a part of? So this slide shares with you some of the places that our students are currently working in terms of internships. So we've had students placed at ABC Sport Radio, Carnegie, Marvel Comics. We've had some working for Adam Splitter, Major League Soccer, the United Way, Warner Brothers, WFAN. We've had a number of them. And we suspect that number of internships will increase even more so because we have a new Center for Sport Media, which you might have heard a little something about. So the Center for Sport Media has been created this semester. We've had the official launch. We will be joined by its first executive director, Jane McManus. For those of you that don't know her, you should definitely Google her. She has done incredible work in the industry. She has placed students in high-profile internships. She has written, she is a practitioner of the field, and she understands how to build exciting programs. You might have also seen recently, affiliated with the Center for Sport Media, a little event we had back on April 4th called the Alex Rodriguez Beyond Baseball event, which was highly successful. Those internships that we currently have will continue to increase, not only because of the Center for Sport Media, but also because of the work that we're doing to modify curriculum and to pave the way for helping students have more career experience while at the same time getting to practice their discipline and having formal education. So interestingly enough, one of the items that we have spent a lot of time on with our internships is we have two case directors, and you may recall we had a conversation about this, or it was mentioned either one of our open houses, Pyra previews, or you might have gotten an email, or your student might have gotten a follow-up email from Miss Amanda Carcione. She is largely responsible for working with undergraduates and helping place them. She mentors, she provides support. In addition to that, we partner with the center, the Career Center, which is also amazing because students have a lot of career mentorship and a lot of support emerging from that area. We believe that students need to be mentored and supported from a variety of perspectives. And we are very hands-on about that, from the curriculum to the seeking of an internship, to doing real-world applications of problem solving as it relates to communication in the arts, to them helping students get into the internships they desire. A number of our internships are paid internships. And that's something that we feel is more and more important. We can tell you that a number of our internships have been remote and more returning face-to-face. It's interesting to see how companies are also wanting to have remote internships remain in place. And I think that's an interesting perspective and opportunity if we think, I wonder how many of our students will graduate and move into a position that's going to actually be hybrid or flex. Many of us are still working in flex positions, and most of the articles we're seeing from the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, really companies are wanting to stay in that direction, and so do employees, so that they have the flexibility they need. So we'll be continuing to build out and attend to our internships and what it is that we're wanting to do there. Students can also get additional support for writing resumes, going through interviewing techniques. We use some interesting software in the Career Center that allows us to think through and help students understand how to prepare for positions. It also allows them to find internships, but we have job coaches too. And so some of those coaches are the case directors, which, by the way, we also have for graduate students. So I know we have a parent that has a student that's working from undergrad to grad for the BA to MA degree. We have folks there that are dedicated to helping them through. If you have a son or daughter, a student working in the master's program, that person's contact is Miss Brittany Scholes. And she's as supportive and as wonderful as Miss Amanda Carcione. The two of them are a dynamic team. But the purpose is to support students inside the classroom, outside the classroom, academically and professionally. And we spend a lot of time connecting students to support that they may need on campus. Questions or comments about internships? One of the other things that I will share with, oh,
Sorry, Dr. Robinson, there's raised hand. If you want to unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, yes, just a quick question. My son is having some difficulty starting out trying to find an internship. Where should he go for assistance? He's tried, he has sent resumes out, and they keep saying that he doesn't have enough, I'm blanking on the word, that he hasn't done enough yet in order to be in this situation. So he's kind of looking too high, I guess, and not quite where he needs to be.
okay, so I think two things come to mind for me. There are career advisors in the Career Center, and I'm wondering if he's partnered with one of our colleagues in that unit. But my first instinct is to say, please have him contact Amanda Carcione right away. And I'm going to put her email address. You should be able to see on the internship slide there at the bottom.
Okay. Yes.
For
Dr.
sure.
Robinson, I added her contact information in the chat, hers and Brittany Scholes as well.
Excellent. So Amanda Carcione works with undergrads. So for those of you that are needing a little more information or need some help for your student to get bridged from one area to another, they're wonderful. They're a wonderful resource. They spent their entire, just so you, I mean, it's important to think about this. I was so excited whenever we created the case directors because it literally stands for Communication and the Arts Student Engagement. That's what the job is. And so internships fall squarely within that category, and that's something that our colleagues work on. So reaching out to her would be great.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Thank you. We also, akin to internships, get questions about additional financial aid or support, just because, of course, students are trying to work and parents are working and people have access and equity and thinking about the cost, affordability. This is also a major leg of opportunity and focus of the university currently. So I'm posting for you here a few of the other scholarships that are available. So if your student would like to apply, I would strongly encourage that person for them to do so. I think scholarshiping is something we feel strongly about, and we work very hard to try to find additional support for students. We understand that education is expensive, and it's also a wonderful opportunity, and we offer such a rich experience here, but we also understand that there's been challenges presented by the pandemic, the shifts in employment, and a variety of other things. All right, I am going to stop screen sharing now so that I can see your faces maybe and be able to actually have a little bit better conversation. Ah, very good. So if you have specific things you want to ask about or you want to talk about, I am very happy to take any questions, or if I need to give you some clarification or better direction, please give me a shout out. Glad to help. No, I did such a good job.
I know I received a couple of questions, Dr. Robinson, and I know one is a parent asked, what kind of advice do you have for undergraduate students in terms of submitting a competitive application for, let's say, if they're interested in the Masters of Arts program in the College of Communication?
This is a near and dear program. So I teach communication and I focus on graduate. That's one of my areas. And this is an area that we are very specialized in the sense that we create learning opportunities for students that give them a lot of flexibility on where they go, but we are a small faculty that are about graduate education. So what I would suggest is pulling together a good competitive MA application, I think is important to highlight the statement of your purpose, your intent. What is it that you want to do? What do you think you want to do, and how will you use your degree, right? And that statement of intent tells us a lot, not only about your writing style and about your ability to convey who you are and what you believe in or what you're interested in doing. It's an opportunity for a student to set themselves apart. We do have a committee that reviews graduate applications. It is the graduate faculty. I would also encourage your student, if they're interested, go have a conversation with the directors of grad study. So I'm going to pop in the chat for you, Dr. Ruth Tesuria. She is the DGS of the MA Comm. She is wonderful. Her area is digital comm. She is very student focused. And I will say, by the way, our grad students who come through this program, the majority of them are getting published in our library with their thesis work because they're all conducting original research. Wonderful. I think that it's important to have that conversation. So if it's an MA Comm or they're interested in public relations, organizational communication, or digital comm technologies, they should reach out to Dr. Ruth Tesuria. For those of you that may have a student that is interested in, say, museum professions, and we're seeing a lot of interest in that area because museums have undergone such a major transformation since the pandemic, they're having to rethink a lot about what they're doing. And the social and political climate is such that it's also helping them rethink the stories that need telling, or how do we express human interaction and how do we convey that culturally? How do we capture the human form and life experience? And so this program is really doing quite well also. This person is Professor Greg Stevens, and I'm just going to pop this over here so you have it in the chat. There we go. So I would say if you have a student interested in a grad program, send them to these two folks. And I will say that Miss Brittany Scholes, she is the case director for graduate. And she does a lot of attention and support for grad students to help them know what to do, how to apply. We also have a website and content about how to create your application. And we regularly do webinars on that program. So if you've got students on both of those programs, as well as a webinar over what to expect in grad school. So there's a lot of information and a lot of focus from us about trying to be aware of student questions and needs, and then information sharing as much as possible. Other questions or concerns, comments, anything you want to know about?
Dr. Robinson, I did receive another question from a parent that was unable to attend. And the question is, how can my student make the most of faculty mentorship opportunities and some of the support systems at the college?
Oh, this is a great question. So one of the things we tell students as soon as they get to us is that we are very interesting in the sense that a student can declare their major quite early, and they could be working with a faculty member in that first year. The other thing that we often tell students is that you have the opportunity to have a flexible curriculum that allows you to major and minor in different areas, which means you can have mentorship across all of your areas of study. And so I frequently tell students, if you want to have an idea of what the field is, or how to be a good student, or how to better perform, what you should be doing is having conversations with your faculty. Reach out. Faculty want to hear from you. If you have not attended office hours, that is a great space in which to go build a relationship with a colleague. Many times we want to see students in our offices all the time. And many of us are available regularly, online, offline. We are Teams accessible as well as in person. And many students take advantage of that. So I think the first thing I would say is have your student identify a person they really, is there a particular class they're really interested in? Is there a topic they really enjoy? And build off of that to contact a faculty member. I would also suggest that in Amanda's role, when it comes to connecting students and faculty, she's very good at it because she is the person that sort of oversees where all of the advising occurs and where students are associated or affiliated with a particular advisor. So she connects them and kind of makes that introduction. I also think it's helpful if the student gets involved as much as possible in on-campus activities. You know, we have a new advising system coming on board that students will actually have a career advisor as well as an academic advisor and a peer advisor. This is so important because we know students have different questions and different needs, and it takes all of us to support students through their trajectory, whatever it is they're trying to pursue. And I think that we're doing a really good job attending to that and being aware that life is kind of complicated, and figuring out who you are as a human being by the time you graduate is huge. I mean, I still have people ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, I'm still figuring it out. I love what I do and I enjoy what I do, but I'll probably be a person that has an encore career down the road, right? Whenever I'm like 80, I'll be doing something else. So thinking through, you know, what we need to do to support folks. Thank you for that question. It's a great one. See, I think someone else has a hand up.
Yeah, Scott and Lisa, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask away.
Apologies for the light. Question: My son is in the area of communications. He loves sports media. He really wants to get involved in sports media, as well as TV. He has done TV all through high school. He has plenty of TV experience, and he enjoys it. But one of the questions I have is, as he starts going through the next 3 years and planning some of his courses, it's great to have a lot of those media courses. But what other courses would when he's looking to fill in, let's say, what courses, even from some of the other schools, you know, business courses or things, would be great courses to kind of supplement? Because it's great to do media, but, you know, having that extra step up where you understand a little bit of the business end too gives him much more freedom of what he could do within a organization.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to operate on the side that the best way to move forward through life is to create opportunities that give you flexibility. And if we've learned anything coming through ourselves as adults on this call, having gone through career changes or employee differences or whatever that may be, it's the fact that you need to have a diverse skill set, and you need to be able to think about how your field is going to apply to a lot of other areas. I actually encourage our CommArts folks, whether they're a media student or otherwise, you'd be surprised the way that media has impacted a number of areas. And I'll give you one example off the top of my head. In higher education, there was a time whenever we didn't have a public relations office. There was a time when we didn't podcast. There was a time when we didn't do video or audio production. Now those for-profit or nonprofit companies, people, educational institutions like Seton, we're hiring for that because we understand a digital presence. Business courses are always helpful. I think it contextualizes for a student how they need to think about the work world. It's one thing to have the skill set to do particular things in a major minor, but businesses, organizations are where we live. And having an understanding of how basic business works is helpful. We're in the process now of putting together business courses in our college that are thinking about media and industry, the business of music, because we have students that will evolve and they have incredible production and media skills, but they also need to have a different skill set that complements that and some context for understanding it. I think it's on our radar. We are working through that process now, but I think business courses are helpful. You know, another great area is education. We see a lot of students moving in a direction that they want to be able to do some instructional work. They want to be able to take what they've learned in production, which, by the way, there's an area of certification in ed that can move in a direction for production so that they can teach others how to do that. So you can also attach the degree itself for the major or minor to a professional setting. I think that students should create lives for themselves that's as flexible as possible. You know, I think it's critical. I do think there's another opportunity, though, that as student, I often tell our majors and minors, especially our major students, there's a reason why we have all of these areas of minors. And that's so you can better prepare to create career flexibility for yourself. In other words, if you're a music major or a music minor in this instance, if you're a music minor, why wouldn't you also do something in production as a major? Or why might you consider art, design, interactive multimedia? Those things pair beautifully. You know, might you consider public relations? Because public relations is the front door to most industries now. So once you attach that to media and or advertising and or communication, you're in a very different place where you already have a different skill set and a different ability, I think. So business, education, you know, there's a number of minors in arts and sciences too that are very helpful. One of the big shifts we'll see, I think, is communication and environments and communication sciences. Those things are, they're coming, they've been growing in momentum. And I think it's going to be a way for production folk or media folk like yourself to start thinking about that in relation to environmental studies and the way in which we think about science and environmental challenges. STEM, that's an area we're also exploring by way of communication. Yeah, I think your question's an excellent one. It's one that we should be talking to all of our children about. Because one thing is not going to solve the problem. You're going to need to have a variety of skill sets. And if I had to say the number one thing I tell students all the time is life is hard and work is hard. And nobody got where they were that has any degree of success that didn't put in the work. So you can have the focus and you can learn how to be a good student, but you need to be able to hustle and you got to be hungry, especially in these areas. And business is no different in that regard.
Dr. Robinson, I have a question, and it's specifically going back to when Alex Rodriguez was here on campus for the Center of Sports Media, which was an awesome presentation. But he mentioned something that still sticks with me and something that I talk to students about, is that your net worth is your net work. Yep. And I know that college communication and the arts had a wonderful program, probably still does, called CHAMP. Is that still in play, especially during the pandemic? I know that was difficult to do, but is that something that's still in play? And also the other thing I know with working with parents, they are, you know, they're in different industries and looking to help our students in regards to professional development. And if you can kind of talk a little bit about CHAMP and also how parents could play a role in that as well.
Sure. We have a really awesome networking opportunity where some of our former alums and people that have been affiliated with Seton Hall and other folks that are invested in mentoring young people to help them advance their career and get into the next place, right? What they need to do. This issue of network is important, and we can't stress it enough to students. And so we try to create opportunities for there to be networking with alumni, a specific organization, CHAMP, for example, that students do work with. Amanda Carcione is also the contact for that program. So if you are interested in reaching out and getting more information about that, or how to get your student involved in that, or if you would like to contribute in some way to that, she is an excellent contact. We also have the leadership program. That is an incredible networking opportunity, because the leadership program is where a number of our students get connected to outside industry leaders and have access to a very elite group of folks. People that have gone down particular paths, people that have been highly successful, people that know something about leadership and how to secure positions of interest. So I think anything that you can do to bridge your student or encourage your student down that path, you should. So your magic words: Leadership Institute, CHAMP, Amanda Carcione for sure, because she is our hub for all of that.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I think Mrs. Justice had her raised hand, and I apologize, I missed it earlier. If you want to just unmute yourself and ask your question. And I see that you put it in the chat as well. So
I did, yes. Hi. And I heard you saying, oh, no worries. Heard you saying that Amanda Carcione might be the contact for many of the questions that we have. And I'm wondering, is that also true? She's been trying to locate or identify who her actual academic advisor is. She's worked with a couple of people and they've been very helpful, but they have also made a point of telling her that they aren't her academic advisor and they aren't sure who should be her actual academic advisor.
Specific to her program, which is graphic arts and advertising.
Thank you.
So I can tell you right now, one of her academic advisor in the major is going to either be Professor Christine Cruz or Professor Christine Lowe. They are our two lead professors in that area. Amanda Carcione will have the specific advisor assignment. So please have your daughter reach out to her ASAP so that we can get that addressed. The other thing I will say is I mentioned a few moments ago, we're in the process of creating a new advising structure. So we're going to have a career coach, there'll be an advisor, a peer advisor, there'll be an academic advisor, and then of course the student's role in advising. I share that with you because we're also updating all this information in our system. So I can imagine where there might have been some confusion. So I could see why this could have occurred. Do not hesitate to direct her to Amanda. But I can tell you, yeah, in that program, you're looking at Professor Christine Lowe or Professor Christine Cruz.
And those two, because she had mentioned to us that one of the people that she would have gone to is currently on maternity leave.
Yes, and we'll be back very soon.
Okay.
But I believe the person that's handling her advising load would be Amanda Carcione or Professor Christine Cruz.
Okay. Thank you.
Either way, we'll take care of her. Get her to Amanda, and it'll be taken care of. This is why we also have a student engagement case director, because whenever we have things like faculty that have to step away for a few moments to handle something personal, or we have a change in an area, we have safety nets for students. This is one of our biggies.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Great question. And it's good to know that I always hate to hear that a student's having difficulty identifying something, but I'm always glad to know it, because then we can figure out what happened. I appreciate that.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. Like I said, other people were very helpful with her. They just, I guess, didn't know exactly what direction to point her in, because Professor, is it Cruz or Chris?
Cruz, she goes by Chris by colleagues, but Professor Christine Cruz, Professor Chris Cruz, yes.
Oh, got it. All right. Yes.
I
She had mentioned that. All right. Thank you.
Link in the chat as well, so you could see more information about her contact info.
Got it. Thank you.
To be able to get as much information as possible there. You're welcome.
Other questions? Oh, nope. Hand up, hand down.
Well, Dr. Robinson, this is one question I've asked all our deans that have participated in the evening of the dean, and knowing that you've been interim dean for a couple of months, but what have you seen is probably your biggest challenge as the interim dean of the College of Communication and Arts? And the other flip side is, what is the joy of being the interim dean of the College of Communication and the Arts?
I think my joy is also the same as my biggest challenge. I'm a person that likes to impact change. I like to experiment and I like to explore, and I am dedicated to changing systems and thinking about how do we better serve students. I believe students, it sounds cliche to say, oh, well, students are our tomorrow. Students are our today. And we will rely on them tomorrow as well. But the human condition is complicated. And I'm in a college of common arts that is very much about dealing with complicated issues, complicated conversations, complicated studies of communication, dealing with organizational issues. We currently, while my joy is challenging, systems and asking questions, it's also a challenge, right? Because we work in organizations and trying to get change. The strategic plan has been amazing at challenging us and getting us to think differently. And it is a challenge to think differently outside of some boxes because of the way I think disciplines are structured. But I think the greatest joy is whenever we make progress. We've made enormous progress this past year. I came in as interim dean in January, and I can tell you I've got one thing on my mind. I want to create a space in the College of Common Arts that's student-centered, but is an amazing learning experience for them. I want them to be challenged. I want them to be supported. I want them to be set up for success. And I want to challenge my colleagues to help me get us there. Do I think we do some of these things well? Yes. But I'm a little bit of a person that believes you can always do a little better. So with that is the challenge, but there's a whole lot of joy in it. I love what I do. I can't imagine not being a faculty member. I can't imagine not working with young people. It is the biggest privilege a person can have in a lifetime. So joy and challenge.
Thank you. We could probably end on that. I know we're past our time, but if there's any other questions from our parents for Dr. Robinson, please ask now. But again, thank you, Dr. Robinson, for sharing your knowledge and answering all the wonderful questions that have been posed this evening. And we can hear the devotion that you have for the mission of the College of Communication and the Arts and your devotion to our students. So thank you again for joining us this evening, and we look forward to having a continued conversation with our parents, hopefully in the summer.
Yeah, that'll be great. And thank you for having me. And parents, thank you for being as devoted. I mean, you're devoted or you wouldn't be here. A lot of parents in the college experience sometimes take a step back. So I'm always thrilled when I see parents and I have a chance to talk with them. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, everyone have a great evening. If you have an opportunity to support the College of Communication and the Arts through Seton Hall Giving Day, feel free to do so. I'll add a link to our Seton Hall Giving Day. It's a great opportunity to really support our students and all the resources that they need to be successful students. So feel free to do that. We have about maybe 16 hours for the campaign, and just another way to support your students and the mission of the College of Communication and the Arts. But everyone have a great evening, and go Pirates. Take care.
Thank you. Go Pirates.
Good night.
Thank you.